Hello class, welcome back to another lesson. Today's learning goal. I can put an irrational number on a number line with a degree of accuracy to the 10th place. Okay, so what we're going to be doing is trying to estimate the decimal form of an irrational number. Okay, we're only going to be able to estimate to a degree of accuracy to the tenths. Okay, and that's all that's really necessary. Yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So our first example is going to be square root of 33. And as we know that 33 is not a perfect square. It is so therefore this is going to be an irrational number. In order to estimate, we need to remember what our perfect squares are. Okay, so our perfect squares include 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, 64, 81, 100, 121, 144, 169, 196, okay, and so forth and so on. Okay, so these are our perfect squares, and we need to know this in order to estimate, because the square root of 33 is going to lie in between the square root of 36 and the square root of 25. So let's do that. So we know that it's going to lie in between the square root of 36 and the square root of 25. Okay, so I'm going to write both of these on next to it. And notice how it's going to be probably a little bit closer to the square root of 36. The square root of 36 is 6. Okay, so right there I'm going to write 6. And the square root of 25 is 5, so I'm going to write 5 right here. And it's going to be closer to 36 because or closer to 6 because 33 is only 3 digits away from 36, while it is 8 digits away from 25. So here's how we're going to go about doing this. We know that it's going to be 5 something, but we need to figure out what that decimal is. Okay, so what we're going to do is create a fraction here. And the value of the fraction, the numerator of the fraction, is going to come from the difference between the 25 and 33, the lower number and the number that we're actually going for. Okay, so the lower perfect square and the number that we're going for. So the difference between that, we said, was 8. Okay, so 8 goes right here. Then the denominator is going to come from the difference between the perfect squares that are next to our number. So the difference between 36 and 25 is 11. So we're going to say that our estimate is going to be around 5 and 8/11. Okay. Now, we said we're going to find the decimal form of this, which means that we're going to have to do some long division. So let me extend the page here and do some long division. 5 and 8/11, so we're going to have to do 8/11, try to find the decimal form of 8/11. Now, remember top dog in the house, which means that the top number, our numerator, is going to go inside our house. So we got 8.000, because let's see if we can use decimals, which we will, and 11, and obviously it's going to be 0. Here we go with going to be 7. So this is 77. Subtract, we get 3. Bring down the next 0. 30, we get 2. We can stop at this point because we're only going to estimate to the 10th place, which means all we need to go to is the 100th place to determine if we're going to round up or round down. And because this is a 2, in the 100th place we are going to round down, so our final answer is going to be 5.7. Okay, which we're going to say is a little bit to the right of the halfway mark, so approximately right here. But we can also do it like this, where we actually count it out and split it up in tenths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And then say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So right here is our approximation. This is going to be where we think the square root of 33 is going to be on the number line. And if we were to use our calculators, we would find that the actual rounded form of 33, or square root of 33, is in fact, woo, look at that, 5.7. Okay, let's try another one. Square root of 88. So again, we need to look for the perfect squares that is next to it. Oops, that's not what I want. I want this. And the perfect squares that are next to it are 81. So square root of 81, because 9 times 9 is 81. Conversely, 10 times 10, which is the one above it, is going to be square root of 100. So we know that our answer is going to be between 9, because of the 81, in between 9 and 10, which means our final answer is going to be 9 point something. So let's write that 9 right here. And again, we're going to get the created fraction, 9 and something, and the numerator comes from the lower perfect square and the actual number we're going for, and then we're going to find the difference between those two. The difference between those two is 4, so we're going to write 4 as our numerator. Then the denominator comes from the difference between the two perfect squares that are around our number, and that is the number 19. So our fraction is going to be 19. Okay. We said we're going to find the decimal form of this, so let's go find the decimal form of this. Again, top dog in the house, so therefore we are going to put 4 in the house, and we're going to put 19 out here. So 0.2, because 2 times 19 gets us something close to 40, which is 38. Subtract, we're left with 2. Bring down the next one, 0 and 1. We can stop here because all we need to do is look at the hundredths place to determine what we're going to round the tenths place to, and we're going to round down, so we're going to keep the 2. So our final answer is, as a decimal, 9.2, which, if we split this into tenths, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9.2 is going to be the approximation for the square root of 85. And if we were to use our calculator, let's see how close we got. We got, yeah, 9.2, 9.2. So, square root of 7. Let's try this one out. The numbers that are next to it, well-known numbers, square root of 4. And square root of 9. So that means our number is going to be in between those two. And that's about, 2 and 3. So we know it's going to be 2 point something, okay? And it might be pretty close to the middle of it. Maybe a little bit closer to 9 because we have a difference of 2 here and a difference of 3 between 4 and 7. But pretty close to the middle. So, again, we're going to make a fraction and find the difference between the smaller square root and the actual number that we're going for, and that's a difference of 3. Then our difference with 4 and 9 is 5. So that's going to be 3/5. And we can do long division, or we can just know that 3/5 is the same thing as 6/10, right? And so we can just split this up into tenths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And go with our final answer of 2.6 by putting it right at the 2.6 mark. So the approximate value of square root of 7 is 2.6. And let's see how close we got. Oh, look at that. Look at that. That's beautiful.
No! Harry, no! Don't look at the light!
I can't help it. It's so beautiful.
Go ahead and try this one out on your own. So the perfect squares that are around square root of 75 are square root of 64, because that's the perfect square for 8, and square root of 81, perfect square of 9. So we know that it's going to be in between 8 and 9. And therefore our final answer will have 8 point something. And we can guess that it's probably going to be a little bit closer to the 9, because it's the difference between 75 and 81 is 6. The difference between 64 and 75 is 11. So let's try to find out what fraction we're going to have. The difference between the smaller square root and the square root that we are trying to find is right here, like we said, is 11. So we're going to write 11 for our numerator. And our denominator is going to be coming from the difference between the bigger square root and the smaller square root. And that difference is 17. Oof. Dividing by 17. Not such a friendly number. So we don't have any easy fun tricks with this because it's not a factor of 10. 17 is not a factor of 10. So let's do some long division. We got top dog in the house, which means 11 is going inside. 17 goes on the outside. Obviously, it's going to be a 0 point something. And 17 goes into 110 6 times. So this is going to be 102. Subtract. We get 8. Bring down the decimal. And it goes in, I believe, 5 times. Let's check it out. 35 plus 5. Is that right? 7, 30. Nope, too much. So let's try, oops, too much again. Let's try doing 4 times. 4 times 28, 2, and 68. Subtract. We get 12, and we can stop there. So our approximation is going to be 8.6. Because all we needed to look at was the hundredths place in order to determine what we were rounding to. So let's mark it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, which means our final answer, like we kind of predicted, is going to be right here at 8.6. And the square root of 75. Actually, I should have wrote the square root of 75. Square root of 75 is going to be approximately right here. And according to the calculator, it's 8.7. It's actually pretty close. The actual answer is 8. Is actually 8.66025, all that jazz. Okay, etc., etc., etc. If I see your work and your work checks out with what it's supposed to be, even though that this is supposed to be 8.7 according to the calculator, if you come out with 8.6 using the method that we talked about, we're pretty close, and I'm going to be pretty satisfied with that. Okay. As long as your work makes sense and it shows correctly, we are going to count that because it is pretty doggone close, okay? But be sure to be using this method. Try this one out on your own. So for this one, we are going to do In between is going to be, it's going to be in between square root of 16. Okay. And the, this in the way. Did not mean to get that in the way. And square root of 25. And we might predict that it's pretty close to the middle between those two, mostly because this is close to 4. The difference is close to 4 is 4, and the difference here is 5. So we know our answer is going to be between 4 and 5. Boop, 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 boop. And so we know our answer is going to be, I keep changing the color. The change is going to be 4 and something, okay? And we're going to get our numerator fraction. Numerator for our fraction between these two, which we said was 4. And between these two, 9, because those are our perfect squares. And so 4 and 4/9, which we know is 4.4 repeating, right? Which means that our answer is going to be, when rounded, 4.4. So let's write that down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 4.4 is right here. So square root of 20, we're going to say, is approximately right there. Okay. And the actual answer is 4.5. The actual answer overall is actually 4.47. Write that down. 4.47 for 7 to 1, and so 4 and 3, 5, 9, 5, 5. Dot dot dot. Okay. So again, I'm not going to be worried too much about it as long as the methodology works. It is pretty doggone close. Okay, using this method. All right.